You know that booklet, yeah. Zane does not. Yeah.
That's the one you made? Oh, you had it printed too?
Yeah, John's
That's awesome.
first 70 years. And then the other one was after he passed. Yeah, I put that together after he passed. But the other one, the first one, the little one, was the present.
Oh, yeah?
For his 70th.
Oh, that's awesome.
Go if you can.
Such a heavy guy, Zane. When I met him, he was over 220 pounds.
Oh yeah.
But he had lost a tremendous amount of weight, and he was only 150 when he passed. Yeah.
Boy.
Round-headed,
Yeah.
70, 150.
Yeah, that's 70 pounds. He started to lose weight when he was with me in Germany.
My daughter said on a text the other day, well, you'll be losing weight when your cancer treatment starts. Okay. There is good things that come out of it.
So I want to read something to you. I put like 4 pages together. John's Vita, so his life. I just want to delineate what I know about him. It's not everything, as we discussed earlier this morning with Walter and Gillian. I do not know everything about him. He kept his secrets. Yeah, so John was born in Grosse Pointe Farms, Michigan, a small town located at Lake St. Clair. I could look over to Canada, he used to say. He arrived on this planet on May the 17th, 1942, a Sunday, early in the morning. He was the last of the 3 children his parents had together. His father was a physician whom John adored throughout his entire life, and his mom was a school teacher. The family moved frequently during the first 5 years of his life to Bronxville, New York, then Indianapolis, Indiana, and then Colorado Springs. And then when he was 9 years old, back to Indianapolis. There he finished high school and graduated on June the 8th, 1960, the very day I was born. John experienced trauma from early on. His maternal grandfather was a hobo, a ruthless man who had abused his own daughter, John's mother. The frequent moves were a desperate attempt to escape his grasp. However, the family found peace only after his death in 1951. And then John's mom fell ill with one of the worst diseases, namely Lou Gehrig's disease, or ALS, a fatal disease which, as you probably know, leads to loss of control of the muscles needed to move, speak, eat, and breathe. Medical bills were piling up, and John helped increase the family budget by working as a paper boy. He liked it and discovered his entrepreneurial spirit and talent that would serve him well later in life. He told me several times, still proud, how much money he had made while selling the newspaper at a racetrack. Did he tell that? Yeah. He also was engaged with the daily chores of caring for his mother, cooking, feeding her, helping with the bathroom, etc. His 2 much older sisters had left the house many years earlier, had families on their own, and therefore were not available to assist. After high school graduation, John rolled up his sleeves and went to work, first at a Pontiac car dealership, and then he did an apprenticeship as a machinist in Chicago at a company called Heidelberger Druckmaschinen, and he had first contact with German mentality. Many decades later, I showed him the headquarters of that company in Heidelberg, Germany. He had wanted to become an engineer and had either been admitted to the MIT or he wanted to study at this institution. I cannot remember. But there was simply not enough money to pay the tuition. In 1963 was an important year for John. He achieved his Master of Automotive in Chicago, moved back to Indianapolis to work again at a car dealership. His mom died, and he moved to Colorado Springs to open his first business, American Automotive. He was just 21 years old. However, this business lasted only a few weeks because another chapter of his life was opened, a violent one that would change him for the rest of his life. Because he's moving from one place to the next and changing addresses often, he had missed 2 draft notices. He responded to the 3rd one and reported to the draft office, but was already considered being a draft dodger by the Department of Defense. So he was given the choice between imprisonment or enlisting right here and there. Of course, he chose the latter. He was not even allowed to leave the building, but was sent off for basic training right away. He had to call his dad and asked him to pick up his vehicle, which was parked outside of the draft office. Yeah. 3 years he was in the army, stationed as a heavy equipment engineer in Korea, but operated in Cambodia and Vietnam in Black Ops, witnessed horrible things, and had to do horrible things that were against every value his parents and teachers had instilled in him. He was haunted by the memories for the rest of his life. And to add insult to injury, the Veterans Administrations never recognized his PTSD. Upon returning home, he worked for a mining company in Sahuarita, south of Tucson, but moved back to Colorado Springs in 1969 to open a Honda motorcycle business. He told me that he was once the largest Honda motorcycle dealer of the United States and was invited to Japan by Honda himself. He had always been very proud of his business successes. His unresolved trauma, however, turned him into a workaholic, subsequently leading to serious physical illnesses, which eventually forced him to sell his business. For 4 years, from 84 to 88, he just rode the motorcycle throughout the entire country. But the tragedies kept coming. In late 88, he started a construction business, purchased an RV park in Buena Vista, Colorado, which he eventually in 92 lost. He had trusted the wrong people and had purchased a piece of property which had been intentionally surveyed incorrectly and had not been for sale. Later in the year, in 1992, he had a construction accident which left him paralyzed. A risky but successful back surgery and a good physical therapist helped him get back on his feet. However, his first wife, Betty, had disappeared and eventually divorced him. Maybe all these tragedies were just too much for her. In the later years of the 90s, John moved to Deming, establishing residency here, but put 46,000 miles on his newly acquired fifth wheel, traveling again all over the country. His beloved father died on April the 1st, 1997 in Asheville, North Carolina. John was restless, hurt, and lost. He moved permanently to Deming, responded to a help wanted poster, and in July of 1998, he moved as a volunteer to City of Rocks, where the last chapter of his life began. He met me on the 10th of September in 1999. We got married in December of the same year in Deming during my second visit to the United States. Until I had my immigration visa, he came to Germany at least 3 times, enjoying German Christmas traditions, frequent visits to the sauna, and trying hard to get accustomed to my vegetarian cooking and to the speed with which I drove my little French car. After I had arrived in this country, tentatively for good, in 2001, He accompanied me to Yuma, Arizona. I worked at Yuma Regional Medical Center, and he volunteered taking patients and visitors to and from the hospital to their cars. He enjoyed riding the golf cart and chatting with patients and visitors very much despite the heat. We moved back to Deming in the following summer when the thermometer in Yuma showed 117 degrees. Back in Deming, John became the manager of El Rancho Lobo RV Park, while I started a business teaching yoga and relaxation. He supported me in everything I did. After a few years, he became the main caretaker of a 20-acre property east of Deming, while I continued with classes and workshops. At the age of 65, John participated at an online course and became a home inspector. He passed without any trouble despite his ambiguous attitude towards computers. Again, he was very successful, and most realtors in Deming and Silver City recommended him. His phone received a call from one of his former clients just a few weeks ago asking if he could again do a home inspection for her. In 2010, we purchased a fixer-upper in Deming. It took over 4 frustrating years to finish the remodeling process. His handyman skills equaled his skills working on cars, saving us thousands of dollars. The day after the completion of this project, we fastened a for sale by owner banner to the fence and went for a joyride to the boot heel of New Mexico. He asked me to do the driving because he had an unusual light sensitivity on that gray, cloudy day. Mm-hmm. This was the beginning of the last and brutal blow. He had developed an ulcer in his left eye, which did not respond to any medication, thus necessitating a cornea transplant. The scary descent into absolute blindness began. We moved to Mimbres in 2015, and John needed to adjust to living with limited and diminishing eyesight. The blind rehab in Tucson and the support group for blinded veterans in Las Cruces gave him the sense that life continues and that he was not alone. He enjoyed meeting other blind veterans on Skype, an app he, by the way, never completely mastered. I always had to help him. He was still able to build a desk for me and for himself, a plant stand with casters and a plant box, but eventually the cornea transplant failed, and John received a second transplant in 2019, which also failed, just after a few months. In August, his left eyeball was removed in Albuquerque, and because of an inconsiderate surgeon, he had also lost most of the vision in the other eye. While he still liked coming along with me on car rides and sitting next to the car under a shady tree while I walked the dogs, and still enjoyed the occasional visits to favorite hot springs and to restaurants, he slowly but surely lost interest in life and withdrew ever more. He had to realize that he could not finish the project of restoring Blackie, his El Camino. He lost more and more on weight and spent more hours lying on his bed listening to audiobooks. He never fully recovered from the septic shock he suffered while at the Blind Rehab Center in Tucson in June 22. And John turned 81 in 2023. He knew this would be his last birthday. Half a year later, on Friday, November the 10th, he suffered a fatal stroke, and he died on Wednesday, November the 15th, exactly 60 years after he had been drafted. He was ready to go and to transition into the world beyond this one. John was a gentle, generous man with a big heart and a big smile.
Yep, I can finish it. John was a gentle, generous man with a big heart, a big smile, and a can-do attitude, which at times drove me nuts. I remember one Christmas season in Deming, I wanted to bake traditional German Christmas cookies and needed something which is called Oblat in German. John had no idea what I was talking about, but searched the entire Pepper store according to the motto. You just have to look long enough to find it, even if it is not there. Another motto John lived by was, if If you light a lamp for someone, it will brighten your own path. The Buddha.
And that's my favorite quote about death. Yeah.
Beautiful. And death is not extinguishing the light, it is putting out the lamp because the dawn has come. Rabindranath Tagore.
It's a Sufi poet. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's beautiful, Monica. It's very beautiful.
Well written.
Well, but very well written.
Is there anything I missed?
I'll tell you, I never met the guy, but I feel like I have now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, there was, and I need to get them written down, but there